Hi everybody, Alex Deployer from Expert Forex, and I hope this video gives you lots of money-making Forex trading ideas. In this video, I'm going to show you an approach to finding the best settings for your EAs, which doesn't entail high amounts of data requirements, optimization skills, or back trading skills. And I hope you find this approach quite interesting. So let's have a look at some of the limitations of traditional optimization. Now, traditional optimization takes an EA, tests it against some really high quality data going back a year or so, and then finds the best setting out of that. Now, that process requires you firstly to have data that has high quality and has sufficient history to go back as far as you want it to go. A lot of people battle with that, especially if they're only trading one EA. They don't want to go and source and buy data, and typically your broker data will not be sufficient to deal with EA optimization. You then need optimization skills. You need to know how to set the test up, how to interpret the results, and that takes quite a bit of experience and knowledge. Some of the optimization tools that we use, which is the Forex strategy tester, is sometimes not as robust as we'd like it to be. It can be temperamental, and it also uses an algorithm that eliminates a lot of possible profitable settings. Sometimes when optimizing an EA, the options can add up to trillions and trillions of options. Now, that in itself is a weakness, because whatever answer you're going to get is your answer is going to be 1 in a trillion, which is even worse odds than the lotto odds. You need to be aware of that. That is a limitation of optimization. Sometimes the results can be totally useless and meaningless. For instance, a while ago, we wrote an EA that would test the US market's reaction to a very strong growth in the UK market. So if you think about it logically, let's say there's a 100 pip gain in the UK market. In practice, trading it manually, we found that the US market would push that gain down by at least 50%. So we could trade it on a manual basis and make money. And then when we tried to automate it and optimize it, the optimization came out to have a stop of 300 pips and a target of 200 pips. Totally unrealistic and fairly meaningless, because we're trading a 100 pip gain and we're looking at a target of 50 pips under the manual conditions. So sometimes the results are not that meaningful. The other thing that is very topical at the moment is spreads. When back trading, you can set fixed spreads, or you can even find spreads that do vary. But in the current environment, spreads vary incredibly. Just last week, some of the currencies increased their spreads by 30 pips because of an economic announcement. So the spreads vary considerably throughout the day, based on liquidity, based on announcements and speeches, and a whole lot of other factors. So spreads, we find, bounce around a lot and make a lot of the testing less credible. And then the one that really I find a big limitation of EA trading as a whole is that you're using averages. So your results in the end will be, use a target of 200 pips and a stop of 150 pips. But those are averages. So if a deal could have gone positive at 180 pips or so, you would lose that deal. I find using averages a big limitation in EA trading. Now, there are a whole lot of other limitations, but I'm just highlighting the main ones for historical backtesting based trading. Now, after you've traded a few years, you'll realize that Forex trading is not that complicated. There's only about 10 ways that you can enter a trade using momentum, grids, trends, trend lines, support and resistance, and a few other methods. Also on exits, there's only a certain amount of ways you can exit. You can use the target, the stop, the following stop, the break-even stop, grid levels, price levels, that type of thing. So there's a handful of exit methodologies. So it's not that complicated. The complication is getting the combination of those right. So when you're testing an EA, it's very easy to use your common sense and logic to make improvements to the EA and apply a continuous improvement process. So let's have a look at a checklist and see what can be done based on the results that you have achieved testing a particular EA. And by that I mean looking at the actual transactions that have taken place, the losers and the winners, and that will tell you aspects of what we're going to be looking at in this checklist. So you could look at, are the entries too soon or too late? Now that's very easy to fix. You just change the settings. Are the exits too soon or too late? Again, the settings can be changed for that. Are the stops too big or too small? Are the targets too big or too small? Again, settings can resolve those issues, but you won't know it if you don't analyze the deals that have been created by the EA based on the settings that you started out with. If the entry method is not sound, you can think of putting filters in or using a different combination of settings. If the market conditions aren't good, then you can look at ways of not trading when the market is not in a favorable phase. Now you might be trading the wrong currency or the wrong time frame, and that again is so easy to fix with more testing of different currencies and different time frames. So all of it really is a little bit more effort that is taken in analyzing deals that are created by the EA. Now, one of the greatest things of the Forex market is it has weekends where nothing happens. The brokers close over a weekend. You cannot trade. And therefore, you can spar and box around for 5 days. But when the weekend comes, no transactions happen. And that's the time. That's the ideal time to analyze your closed deals that the EA has created and see if there is a very obvious error in the settings. Your stops might be too big, or your targets might be too small, or your indicator settings might be too sensitive or too loose. Now, I use my weekends for that kind of analysis. So the answer is really to become a continuous problem solver. So what you do, step one, is you start with a set of settings either created by optimization or by your own trading experience and logic. You then run it for a while, and then step two is you analyze those results and see if you can come up with any changes that needed to be made to the settings. Step three is you then run it again with the change settings, and you can do it in various ways. Some traders keep the original and trade those and then create a new account and trade the change settings and compare that. You can do that too. But step four is to do the same thing. Analyze the results of the change settings to see if any further improvement is required. Now you have to do this to learn how the EA works, and obviously you'll get closer to getting more robust settings. After you've done that, you just go back to step three and you test it again and analyze the results, and it's a continuously closed loop. But through the process, after a month or so, you will have settings that you are confident about, that you know will work under certain market conditions, and you will have learned how the EA works. Now, I have an example to show you of this particular process because I'm currently doing it for the Dream Machine EA. I'm currently testing it, and we have completed step one in a webinar where I've created settings that we'll kick off on. Now, later this week, I'm going to have step two where we analyze the results of the trades that were created through step one, and already I know of a lot of changes I want to make during that analysis. And we will continuously have weekly webinars doing those setting evaluation analysis processes. Also this week I'm starting a brand new step one because the first step one covered the 4-hour and daily timeframes. I'm going to go to the 1 hour, which will create a lot more transactions, and I'm going to be kicking off on that particular one later this week. Now, all the links to these webinars, the recording of the webinars, and more details of this trading technique, you will find in the description of this video, below the video in YouTube. There's a description section. Just click on that and you'll get all these links, and you can then click on them. As stated on this slide, there are some clickable links that will appear on the top right-hand side of your screen. We have also recently created a settings service which does exactly what I've just explained. We start out with optimized settings, we run monitoring accounts, we monitor the transactions that have happened in the monitoring accounts, make changes, and continuously improve the settings for our clients. We are already on step 2 for the time of day hedged EA. We are already step 2 for the dream machine, and we are currently doing step 1 for the RSI envelope trader. Again, follow the progress in the links supplied in the description below. On your screen, you can see the service that's available for the time of day hedged EA. Just pause the video if you want to read more of the details. Now we have 20 Forex trading tools available to our clients, and sometimes this can be confusing. So I've created a top 3 list that you can consider if you're considering EA trading. Now, the Dream Machine, which I'm currently on step 2 with, is a great tool. It's based on really good trading philosophies, and why I like it is it doesn't overtrade. It doesn't open hundreds of trades. You can trade it with a smaller account. It is also ideal for US traders because it doesn't hedge or it doesn't have FIFO problems. Number 2 on the list is the RSI envelope trader. Very similar. It doesn't overtrade. You can trade it with a smaller account. It's ideal for US traders and has very low drawdowns. Now, number 3 on the list is the time of day hedged EA, and that is ideal for a total beginner because it will be profitable using most currencies, most settings. But the only downside is you need quite a large account to trade it because there are lots of open deals and there are also big drawdowns on this particular EA. But it is still one of our top EAs because of its consistency. Now, I realize that this EA testing process presented in this video requires you to have some trading experience to do the evaluation of the results and the changes to the settings. But I would urge you to start building up this trading experience and knowledge. I certainly didn't start with that when I first learned about Forex. I had to learn these things as I went along. You're lucky that you can now get a lot more information from people that have gone through this process and experienced the activities that are needed to create great settings. Thanks for watching this video. If you've liked it, please give it a like. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe and click the bell. But most importantly, share this video. You can do this in many ways. Message your friends, send them emails, or share it on social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, and those kind of places. So from me, Alex Deploy, cheerio.